All right, things are heating up with the Brandon Aiyuk trade market. Christian McCaffrey's calling him a former teammate. He's spotted at the Pittsburgh airport. I'm going to go through and give my thoughts on who, at least that we think, are the contenders to land him. Don't forget, just because the talks have already started, some team can come in and blow them away with an offer. An injury can happen at training camp to a contender, and all of a sudden, the wide receiver need opens up, and someone overpays for Brandon Aiyuk, both in terms of contract and trade. Starting off with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I wouldn't love this just because it's not going to be your identity. Neither one of those first two quarterbacks are the answer at quarterback. You're going to need to run the ball. You have two of the best running backs in the league in Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, a new revitalized offensive line, Zach Frazier. You got Mason McCormick. You got Troy Fautanu. You got some guys. Let's run the football. That should be this team's identity. I know they need a receiver, though. Look at that chart. That's atrocious. George Pickens, very good. We haven't even seen his ceiling yet. Pat Freiermuth, amazing tight end. Doesn't get used the right way, though. Is he going to be used the right way this year? I hope so. I don't know, though. Roman Wilson carted off with a leg injury. He seems like he's going to be back for the opener, but he's a rookie. He's a third-round pick. So does he come back 100%? Probably not. And how effective is he really at 100%? I think he does have the chance to be effective, but you never know. Van Jefferson is the wide receiver, too. That is why the Steelers are in this trade market. And then you got a bunch of, they're okay, I guess. Some speedsters like Calvin Austin, Quez Watkins, and Scotty Miller. It's an uninspiring receiver room. There's a reason why the Steelers are interested. And the flirtations have been dating back a while. Brandon Aiyuk looks like Coach Tomlin, so he was tweeting at him. Here we got Pony, who isn't always the most reliable. I like Pony, but he's not always the most reliable with Steelers news. The Steelers are willing to give up Dan Moore. Makes sense. He's a swing tackle on a contract year. James Daniels, they've already said they're not going to re-sign him. You got Isaac Seumalo, Mason McCormick, and Nate Herbig, guys who they like. Calvin Austin hasn't panned out yet. I think there's something there. And then a second-round pick. Nobody should be giving up a first-rounder for Aiyuk, but then at the same time, the 49ers really shouldn't be giving him up for less than a first-rounder. They're contenders this year. The Niners are interested in those guys right there. The Steelers aren't going to trade George Pickens unless he's even more of a locker-room cancer than what people think he may be. Pat Freiermuth, I would hate it. I just said that he's underutilized. He's not used the correct way. That's a shame because he has top 10 potential. It is possible. The problem is Freiermuth's not going to get used the right way in San Fran either. There's too many mouths to feed and a first-round pick. I don't know if this gets done. I don't know if it should get done. The Steelers were rumored to be out of it just 24 hours ago. Their offer wasn't high enough. They were willing to meet Aiyuk's demands, which is interesting. The Steelers are pretty set in their ways in terms of contract structure. They'd probably have to pay him around $28 a year and have guarantees that go past the first year. That's not the Steeler way. Omar Khan has broken away from the Steeler way a little bit. I just don't know if I love this fit for the Steelers or Brandon Aiyuk. Pretty close to Pittsburgh in terms of just style, the way the organization is ran, and in proximity. Cleveland's only a couple hours from Pittsburgh. I don't understand this at all. I don't get what Cleveland's doing. I don't dislike it necessarily because you're getting better. I would view Cleveland as more of a contender. But Amari Cooper, you give him a raise. That's a short-term solution to a long-term problem. But Amari Cooper right now, I'm just going to say, he's better than what Brandon Aiyuk is. I get it. Aiyuk's 26. Aiyuk's probably going to be better than him soon. But right now, in terms of the 2024 season, Amari Cooper is a better wide receiver than Brandon Aiyuk. I'm sorry, I know Brandon Aiyuk is the cup of tea right now. He's younger, he's on the Niners, so he's on a flashy team. He wants to be traded, so he's in the news, so everybody wants him. Amari Cooper's still better than him. Jerry Jeudy, I don't like, but the Browns see something in him because they paid him like they see something in him. Elijah Moore, kind of same thing. I'm not a huge fan, but there's something there. And then you got three mid-round guys, early to mid-round guys. Cedric Tillman, a former second-round pick that they were talking up last year. Are they going to just be done with him after a year? David Bell, I think, was a third-round pick, maybe a fourth-rounder. And then same thing with Jamari Thrash. Not saying that any of those three guys are going to be anything, but you at least invested something in them, and all three of them are in their first few seasons of their careers. I don't get what Cleveland's going to try and do here. I don't think Chubb's going to be back. I don't. Jerome Ford, Deontay Foreman already got carted out. I think Cleveland should be trying to find another running back or two to help Jerome Ford and Pierce Strong out. That's really where I think Cleveland should be looking. Matt Breida just got signed by the Niners, so the running back market's thinning out a little bit. Somebody's probably going to be cut. I don't see what Cleveland's rush is here. They're going to be investing a ton in this receiver room, both in terms of trade assets and cap dollars, and I'm not sure if they have the quarterbacks to utilize them. Deshaun Watson, can he come back and be an elite quarterback? People forget he was viewed the same way Mahomes is viewed now at the start of his career. He's tailed off due to off-the-field things, due to injuries. It's not the same. But can he get back? We don't know. Jameis Winston, it's going to be fun. I don't know how much more I can say than that. The third team heavily rumored right now is the team that I think is probably the best fit, at least from the team perspective. I don't know how much Aiyuk would want to go there. You probably have to pay a little bit more top dollar. But let's look at this receiving room. And first off, this roster's atrocious. Awful. The offensive line has a couple of bright spots in Cole Strange and David Andrews on Wenyu. The problem is David Andrews is super old. The secondary, I like. I like New England's secondary quite a bit, actually. But everything else is atrocious. From Andre Stevenson, can he come back? Because guess what? Antonio Gibson might not make the roster. Kevin Harris isn't doing anything for me either. So let's focus on the receiving core, though. Kendrick Bourne, he's had some success in New England. Is that going to continue? I would say no. I think that he's probably going to revert back to really more of a wide receiver 3. Demario Douglas intrigues me, but intrigue doesn't always translate into production. Jalen Polk, I think they reached a little bit, especially when guys like Ladd McConkey were still on the board. KJ Osborne has had actually a really good start to his career. Maybe him. Juju, I don't think Juju makes the roster. We got Javon Baker, another one of the rookies that they're high on. Tyquan Thornton, Keyshawn Boot, I think Butte or Boot, however you want to say it. The former LSU high recruit. I'm not going to say he was good in college, but he was a good recruit. He's suspended, I think, for gambling. Jalen Rieger's there as really more of a return. They could use him. Whether it's Brissett or May, you need some more talent. You need some more reliable players. Aiyuk would be that for the Patriots. If I'm Aiyuk, though, I don't want to go to this team unless they're paying me top dollar. Like, we're talking 30+ mil. I'm trying to do anything in my power to not go to New England. We haven't heard too much about them recently, but the team that I really think Aiyuk would fit greatly on is the Commanders. Everyone talks about them because Jaden Daniels was his college quarterback at one point at Arizona State, but the NFC is pretty open. The NFC East, pretty competitive, but you could sneak in as a third team. And I don't know how I feel about Jaden Daniels yet, but people are high on him. So listen, if you're really that high on him, continue to just load the skill room, because if you can put up points in the NFC, chances are you're going to be able to get a wild card spot. So Terry McLaurin, one of the most underrated receivers. You got a pair of running backs that neither one are spectacular, but Eckler and Robinson, that's a pretty good duo. Jahan Dotson, I think, is going to come back and explode. I love McCaffrey. You got a couple of tight ends in Benson and Zach Ertz that I like. And then you got some pretty good backups to round up the group. Dynami Brown, Zacchaeus, and Crowder. Some pretty good guys. I'm not sure if all of them will make the roster, but you have some good depth there already. Just completely go air raid. If Jaden Daniels is as good as what some people think he is, let's prove it straight out of the gate. That's what I would do, because honestly, Dan Quinn, you have a chance to be fired after 1 year. Bill Belichick was flirting with them this past offseason. Guess what? If things go south this year, maybe they say, you know what? Screw it. We're willing to make some successions to Bill to bring him in. I think that's in the best interest of Dan Quinn and Washington. Load up this receiving room, load up this offense, and try and score as much points as possible with Jaden Daniels. The bottom line is, although I'm not as high on Brandon Aiyuk as some other people, in fact, I would say I'm probably lower on him than most, he is still a game changer. He's still good. He's still a weapon for any of these contenders, the Patriots and the Commanders. Not really contenders, but you have young quarterbacks and you need some talent. I would love it. Steelers and Browns, I don't love the fit as much, especially Cleveland, but who knows? Things seem to be heating up. The Niners, though, are you willing to make your team worse for a year when really the band might be gone after this year? Kittle's getting older, Debo's getting older, and Purdy's going to need a contract.